What's up guys, Travis from AmericanTrucks.com, and today we're trying to figure out how to make it a little bit easier for you to get stuff in and out of the bed of your 2015 or newer F-150. Now thankfully Bestop has come up with a pretty cool way of doing so, and that's thanks to their TrekStep rear mount Sidestep. This nifty little step is a bolt-on kit. It's very easy to install, takes about 30 minutes. I'm going to give the install a simple 1 out of 3 wrenches on my difficulty meter, get that out of the way. Now this step comes in at around the $200 price point guys, and while there aren't any other options to compare it to, it's definitely worth it in my humble opinion. First off, it offers about 6 to 8 inches of drop, and that's huge in my opinion because let's face it, even on a factory ride height truck, these step pads on the rear bumper, they're kind of high up. In my personal opinion, they're kind of slippery when wet. They just don't do a great job. This has a really nice textured grippy finish on here, so if you got mud on your work boots or it's wet outside, you're not going to worry about slipping on this thing. And if you think $200 is a little expensive guys, honestly this thing is incredibly well built. It looks very simple, but it actually can hold up to 300 pounds. Bestop figured out, well, if you're climbing in and out of that bed, you probably got some heavy stuff that you're throwing in there, maybe lumber or cement or something like that. So you can safely stand at least 2 of me on there. That's more than enough. It's also made entirely out of aluminum and it features a black powder coat finish. So it's safe to say you're not ever going to have to worry about this thing rusting out on you. And you're also not going to have to worry about the finish coming off anytime soon. And again, even if you do, because it's aluminum, no rust or corrosive issues whatsoever. Last thing to consider again is that install. I said it's very easy and it definitely is. You can actually install this on the driver's side or the passenger side. It's modular, you can flip it around either way to your liking, and the step itself is actually adjustable left and right. And again, they do provide little spacers in the kit so you can actually do some up and down adjustments to your liking. All right, so again guys, if you want to make bed access a little bit easier and safer, but you don't want to do a bunch of crazy cutting or drilling on your truck and no permanent modification whatsoever, then the Bestop TrekStep rear mount Sidestep is going to be the ticket. And if you decide to pull the trigger on this kit, come back in a little bit. I'll show you all the tools you need to dig out of the toolbox, and then I'll walk you through that entire install step by step, no pun intended. All right guys, before we get started, we'll need a standard drive ratchet with a 3/16 Allen key or Allen head socket. You'll also need a 16mm socket that can be shallow or deep. You'll need a 19mm deep socket, a 21mm short socket, and a 21mm deep socket. You'll also need a hammer, a 22mm wrench, and it's helpful to have a pry bar. Now, other optional but helpful tools include an impact gun with an impact swivel socket. All right guys, once you got your tools set up, you can lay the kit out on the table just like I have in front of me. And I'll give a quick little explanation because it seems like there's more hardware than you need, right? And that's actually for a good reason. You can make adjustments to the height of the step itself. So they threw these spacers in here if you want the step to come down lower. You could throw these spacers on top. Now, whether you use the spacers or not is also going to determine which set of hex bolts you use. You can see we have 2 very similar sized ones. One's slightly longer than the other one. You'll only be using the longer bolts if you're using any of the spacers. We're not going to do that today. It's entirely optional, so we're going to be using these shorter ones. So you'll need 2 of these hex bolts, and you'll also need this Allen head bolt here with the appropriate flat washers. What we're going to do first, we're going to mount the actual arm itself onto the linkage. The holes right here are pre-threaded, so you don't need any nuts or anything like that, but you will need a 16mm socket for the hex bolts, and you'll also need a 3/16 Allen head key or Allen head socket for that Allen head bolt as well. All right, now when you go to fit that Allen head bolt in, you're actually going to be using the smaller hole opposite of the 2 holes for your hex head bolts. Once you got those hand threaded, you can drive them home. All right, once you have the linkage on the step assembled, you can come underneath here. We're going to be removing our bumper support bracket. It's got 3 studs poking through the end of the frame rail here with these 3 nuts. You'll need a 21mm deep socket to remove these. Now it goes without saying, since we are removing hardware that secures the bumper to the vehicle, we want to play it safe, have it supported with a jack stand right here. Obviously the other side's still tight, but we are loosening this up, so we don't want this thing falling down at all. Now you can probably get that top and bottom nut out of there with power tools, but you'll likely need a hand ratchet for that middle one. All right, once those nuts are free, you can remove the bracket. If you've never removed this bracket before, there are some flanged washers that actually hold it in place. Just gently tap on the studs with a hammer, you should be able to pop it out of the frame rail. All right, if you're finding it difficult to tap those studs out with the hammer, you can also use a pry bar once you get it started. You can actually come up in here and get a little bit of leverage on the bracket. All right guys, now we're gonna throw our step assembly in place. Before you do that, you wanna grab these large bolts, put them through the holes like so, and line them up in the holes with the frame rail where we originally removed our bracket. You wanna get at least one of these in place. Go ahead and come up through the pocket, grab a flat washer and one of those nuts, and get them both hand tight. All right, once you have that hardware hand tightened, you can come in here. You'll need a 22mm wrench for the nuts, and you'll need a 21mm socket for the heads of the bolts. All right guys, now this step is going to be dependent on whether or not you have a tow hitch installed. If you do, you're going to have to fill this third hole here for the bumper support. They do provide a bolt in the kit here. It's a 19mm flange, and they also have flat washers with a nylock nut on the back. You'll need that same 22mm wrench for the nut and then a 19mm socket for the head of the bolt. All right guys, now that the step assembly is secured to our bumper, now we can actually install the step itself. Now on the bottom of the lever, or mechanism if you will, you have this little recess in here, and resting in that recess is this little aluminum block with these threaded holes here. So that's where your step is gonna lay. You can make adjustments left or right depending on how far in or out you want the step to lay, but for this purpose we're just gonna set it right in the middle. Now as you keep that in there, you're gonna grab the remaining Allen head bolts in the kit, these little small guys here. You're gonna thread them up through the bottom, and you'll need that same 3/16 Allen key or Allen head socket to drive these home. All right guys, once you got the step in place, go ahead and test it out. Make sure it fits to your liking, and that'll wrap up this very easy install. That also wraps up my review of the Bestop TrekStep rear mount side step fitting your 2015 or newer F-150. I'm Travis, thanks for watching, and for all things F-150, keep it right here at AmericanTrucks.com.